Today I want to talk about managing mental illness. As I've said before, some people are cured of it and healed by God, and that's amazing and an amazing testimony. I was not given that healing, at least not on this side of earth. So I wanted to talk about how I manage mental illness for a few episodes. And so there's several things that have led to my success in managing mental illness in the past, specifically bipolar disorder. There's two types, type 1 and type 2. I forget which they are. One is more severe. That's the one I have. So I've been in a mental hospital 3 times in my life, I think, maybe 4. So quite a bit of experience with it. And one of the things I wanted to talk about was Jesus. Some people can manage a mental illness without Christ. But I would say if you want to live life abundantly to the full, that only comes through Jesus, whether that's managing a mental illness or life in general. So the biggest key to my success in managing my mental illness so well is Jesus. Another big one for me, probably number 2, is my family support structure. Especially when I was growing up, but even more so now. My wife is my rock next to Jesus, and so I've been incredibly blessed to have a family that has supported me all along the way, whether that's growing up when I was diagnosed or now as an adult. So that's number 2. Number 3, exercise. If I'm not exercising at least 150 minutes of cardio a week, I'm probably not going to do real well. And I kind of like to batch exercise, I guess I'd call it, where I'll do like 100 minutes of cardio in one day. And the way I do that is on my Fitbit, I get 2 times minutes for cardio when my heart rate's above about 130 as a 40-year-old male. So that's how I'm able to do that. I don't run. Well, I run for 30-second intervals just to get my heart rate into cardio, and then I walk at a brisk pace about 4 miles an hour, which is a 15-minute mile, and I'll walk at that pace to keep my heart rate up, and if it drops back down below 130, I'll jog for another 30 seconds to get that heart rate back up. So that's how I do that. Another way to manage my mental illness is through medication. I have no shame in being on medication. I think I look at mental illness as I would any other illness, any other chronic condition. If someone has diabetes, you wouldn't tell them, oh, just pray harder about it. Don't take your insulin. You just need to pray harder about it. And I've often been confused at the confusion with mental illness within the church about people who say, oh, you don't need to take anti-anxiety medication or antidepressants or mood stabilizers, whatever the case may be. You just need to pray more about it. There, of course, is scripture that talks about cast all your anxieties on God. But I also look at King David in the Psalms, and I'm like, I don't want to read too much into it or read myself into scripture, but he seemed bipolar to me in some of those Psalms. So, and I think if he was alive today, he'd probably be on some mood stabilizers. Now, again, that's probably reading myself into scriptures, but there's some massive mood swings in there from my perspective. So, let's see. There's Jesus, family, exercise, medication. Another thing is watching my thought life. So, it's easy when I'm heading towards depression or in depression to have what I call a negative thought spiral. And if I can interrupt that thought spiral early enough, it doesn't get too bad. When you're already in the midst of that negative thought spiral, that's when it's hard to dig out from there. So the earlier you can catch it, the better. And the way I catch that is to think, is this a logical thought, or is this me being depressed? Is it a rational thought, or am I irrationally thinking? And you can do that by kind of putting your thoughts on trial, is how I've read it before. And so a way to think about that is like, if I think I'm worthless, let's say, in a state of depression, is it true? Well, no, of course it's not true. I'm not worthless. God calls me worthy. He has adopted me as his own child. That's a silly thing to say I'm worthless, but it's a common one for me. So put it on trial. Does it line up with Scripture? Is it true? Is it helpful? Do other people say the same thing about you? And if they do, are they reliable? Do you believe them for other things too, or just this particular thing? So those are some of the ways that I manage mental illness.